It's Bubblegum. It's Crisis. Oh man, I already pulled that joke, didn't I?
Yeah, we did. You did.
Damn. I guess I don't even remember the rest of it now, so I guess that's all it's gonna be.
The real Bubblegum Crisis is the one we're covering real soon. Oh, wait.
No, I mean, maybe. But, hello everybody, we're back. We're not talking about Bubblegum Crisis, but we are again talking about something Bubblegum Crisis-adjacent and something called Parasite Dolls. So, if you've listened to our other Bubblegum Crisis podcasts, and thank you if you have, Parasite Dolls is a later one. It came out in 2002. So anyone who knows the series knows that it got revived in the late 90s. There was like a 26 episode, I think, Bubblegum Crisis show. Bubblegum Crisis 2040, I think it was called. And then a 13 episode 80 police show. And then a few years later, they did this 3-part OAV. I'm sorry, I still say OAV. Called Parasite Dolls, again, set in this universe. So as far as I know, it's the last thing to be made in this universe. I guess probably, I'm doing a podcast. I should research these things, but I don't remember anything after this. However, it's been 20 years, so.
I think we should be fair to the people now. What do you say?
What?
And by the time we hit this point in 2002, 2003, whenever we got this, the drama of, who really owns Bubblegum Crisis is long past. The companies got folded into bigger companies of bankruptcy and whatever. And then AIC, who ended up with ArtMax's body of work, they got all this stuff, and that's how we ended up with Bubblegum Crisis 2040 and AD Police, no relation to the show we watched. But
yeah, consolidation, folded into other companies. I guess Yomex is completely out of the picture, or either they went bankrupt or whatever. And then, but I did not know that this new company has that entire catalog of the ArtMix stuff, because they made a lot of random OAVs that have like never been seen since. It's not that you can't find them, not that they're not out there, not that they probably didn't get like random Japanese DVD releases or whatever, but that catalog is pretty rich. One of these days we should do like
some kind of dive.
Yeah, like a verse, this versus this versus this, like 3 cut in 3 panels, or 4 panels, like a Phoenix Wright cover. You know what I mean? You got the 4 inserts with the people. That's what I would like to do, because there's a lot of them. Like you read, it's like, okay, I've heard of some of these, but this is just like, anyway, I'm always looking for like fine 90s trash, but so maybe that's a task for someday. Anyway, back to Parasite Dolls. Did any of the staff of like the old ones work on these? Because I wasn't really sure before I watched it.
Andre, I spent a good chunk of time on Anime News Network trying to cross-reference staff, and you got some people working on 2040 and the second AD Police series, but no one was working on the old stuff.
And you can tell. Can we just say up front that this sucks? Parasite Dolls sucks. I'm sorry to blow this real fast, but I can't keep it in. I'm not going to lie to the people. This was not good.
This is the real Bubblegum Crisis, because we wanted this to be good.
I would have liked for this to have been good. I mean, Bubblegum Crash wasn't perfect, but that's fucking Citizen Kane compared to this. My God. So here's the problem. Usually we like to go through these things kind of systematically, not literally, chronologically as the movie or episodes happen, but just, talk about various events in it that we liked. There's very few of those in Parasite Dolls. So few, in fact, I feel like this is just going to be like a good old MST3K session. Forget
about events we liked. There were barely any events.
Yeah, barely nothing happened.
We'll get to that, too.
Oh, how about we get to it right now? So it actually starts out okay, right? There's 3 episodes of this, by the way. They're all like a half an hour long. So it's like not like watching a long movie, because they don't have anything to do with each other, but be that as it may, the first one starts out pretty good, right? Because it's like, they're showing like the night sky. This is like the only establishing shots we get in this whole fucking thing. And some sexy lady is like, ooh, the night is long, but I'll be here with you all night long and shit like that. It's great. Love that stuff, right? It's like, ooh, we're setting the tone good early, and then we don't follow it at all because it's just a shitty plot device later. But I, I would have liked it if it was just a thing.
I mean, I was digging that a lot. We watched our hero come home and leave his wife behind because the police chief comes back. So we get him driving back and running downstairs to the investigation room. And, I'm like, okay, this could be good.
He doesn't even talk to her, by the way. I think he barely even acknowledges her presence. Oh, the police chief left a message for you. He goes and listens to it on his like Toshiba laptop from like 1997 and then immediately leaves because she's like, oh, okay. Do you want me to make you dinner? He doesn't even like answer. He just leaves. It's like, okay. Seems like a great guy. We want to follow around for 3 episodes.
I mean, I guess he's just, hey, maybe he's real stressed out at work, right? Because he's working for Branch. They're like, which from what I could piece together, they're like internal investigations, but they like work on the field too because they're like taking care of boomer related crimes that the police are involved in.
And then like he goes to if you've listened to our other ones or have watched the series, the Genom Corporation, they are still here. They still make boomers, I guess, causing all the problems in the world or whatever still because corporate nonsense. But then he goes to the police station or whatever it is, the branch, and he talks to his friend here. His name is Myers, I think. And he's like, oh, can you crack this or something? He has some disc and he's like, it's easy. Piece of cookie. He says piece of cookie in English. Hey guys, that's not a phrase we say. I'm pretty sure it's piece of cake. He says piece of cookie. Look, this is made in 2002. I'm pretty sure they could have Googled piece of cake, right?
I remember a few creative old people who would say piece of pie, because they thought they were funny, but never a piece of cookie.
I've never heard piece of cookie. I was actually afraid you were going to tell me it's some regional variant or something. Some
region I ever been to.
For people in Vermont say piece of cookie or something. It just... Anyway, but like, yeah, so like he's cracking this disc or whatever. And he's like, hey, by the way, pal, you should move on from your dead wife. It's been a whole year. Clickety clack. Okay, I got it cracked. Ta-da! It's like the only thing we know about Buzz now. That's our protagonist's name, by the way, Buzz. Buzz.
I feel like a broken Buzz Lightyear doll has more charisma than this Buzz.
This guy is nothing, dude. Just nothing.
I mean, and I can deal with a cop without personality if the rest of everything is going okay, because we've established that Bubblegum Crisis is quite the universe that they built and lives and breathes and whatever. And if he's just having to react to that, I could deal with that. But I feel like we're doing more reacting to things than he is, because all of a sudden we're at a strip club and we're here for business because there's an informant that's just bloody and head dunked in a toilet.
Yeah. By the way, so he's like getting these like pills out of the toilet, but like, how did he know they were there? I guess he knew that the informant maybe had the pills, but he just instinctively dug into the bloody toilet and got them. I don't know how we would have known that was there. Yeah, that was weird. But like, this is where the show like lost me, because I already like thought this was kind of whatever. The episode's like half over at this point. By the way, we've been talking 5 minutes about this. This is like half the episode already. Nothing's happened. Nothing cool has happened anyway. We have our first confrontation, and then it's like lame as fuck.
I gotta say, I'm sorry, but it's our first confrontation already in progress, because we had a minute and a half of this other lady who's flying by in a helicopter, and she shows up in a scene and looks at a thing. And then we cut back to the bathroom where this guy is just already fighting Buzz.
Oh, right. That happened in the same bathroom. I actually forgot about that. But how does he dispatch this assailant?
with a Vulcan nerve pinch, at which point he explodes. Oh, guys, guess what? He was a boomer.
Yeah, on the back of his neck. I guess he just decides, like, oh, there's like the boomer chip or something, and then he just crushes it with his hand. I don't know how he's like strong enough to do that, but he does. But that's where I got lost. I don't know about you. Were you at that point? Were you just like, oh no? Because I was.
Not necessarily because of all of that, but just because we keep flipping by. It's too fast for me to care about any one scene. Because right after that, his informant, I guess it's his partner, he's standing there going, "You should have a gun. It would keep you safe." I don't have a gun. And the reason I don't have a gun is, and they flip right back to the radio station where it's like, okay, that's the end of our show, but that's not the end of our night. Good night.
I liked at the beginning where she's like, "This goes out to you who wants to hear music and adult talk." Like literally. We're making our own voices, not just because it's a podcast, but we watch this in Japanese because that's all that was available. So I'm just imagining that would be her dub voice based on the other stuff we've watched in this series. But so let me just blow through this because they did too. So there's like the pills he got out of the bloody toilet. Apparently these are like boomer pills that like makes him go crazy or something. So his boomer partner, Buzz's boomer partner, is like, okay, I'll try one. And it's like, wait, what if it makes you go wild or something? He's like, I have like antivirus. I don't know. He had like an explanation for it, but it was just like, okay. But then he takes the pill, cut, another scene. Okay, fine. I guess we don't get to see that either.
Oh, well, we kind of do, but not really, because, well, we see the aftermath because right away he's not even half a scene later, he's picking up the radio host at the station before it flashes back to the diner where he realizes that this drug isn't really a drug. It's some kind of update patch. And it might be messing with his head.
Right.
And Buzz just lets him go anyway.
What the hell happened? You're going to have to explain this to me like I'm an invalid. What was the part where like there was some boomer with like a stripped arm flying a helicopter, right? And then like I guess like some people were hooked into this like virtual reality hub. They were cutting to them. And I didn't know if that was related or not. Go ahead.
It's sort of related because these pills were being distributed to certain boomers with cameras, and these cameras were being fed through to this, like on the, I don't know, I guess we'd call it the cloud now, or just online videos. And that it's like a party. They wanted to watch these robots go crazy, and they were getting off on it.
You know what it is, Steve?
What is it, Andre?
It's the metaverse.
Oh God, it is the
metaverse. But no, they're all hooked into this fucking thing, and then I guess they watched helicopter guy get shot and blown up by someone that was like not shown, and then they all cheered, yay, because they saw the thing blow up. And then like helicopter lady, I guess, what is her name? Michelson?
Yeah. We don't know that at the time, or I didn't.
Yeah, we didn't know this at all. We found that out in like episode 2. She literally flies her helicopter to the window to this virtual reality hub house. She shoots it with the helicopter's railgun, and they're like, "Oh!" And then they all like get arrested or something.
Well, I don't have a boner anymore.
Yeah, it looked like they were kind of getting off on this, even though it wasn't like sex. They were kind of like, definitely. Well, half of them were naked, like.
She's telling them to stay there until they could be properly arrested by actual cops. Like, I don't know. And then she was landing the helicopter and running back because we then cut back to Kane still attacking Radio Lady, who in the end just ends up shooting him to death herself.
Yeah. Oh, right. She Buzz didn't want to use the gun, so she took it and then like shot him a couple times. That was a good shot. That was actually a good shot with the blood running down his face there. That profile shot. That was actually one good shot that I liked in this.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like all even I felt like it was a good idea ish, but Kane threatening this lady felt more. I don't. I'm. We had dare videos when I was in school, and
No, we had Dare.
and this was the cop in a suit going, "Hey, baby, you want to have a good time?" kind of threat. I don't. It didn't feel like she was actually being. What were the stakes?
There was none. It didn't feel like there was any. I didn't understand half of why what happened actually happened. And the pacing, like you said, was so bad. Like I didn't get it. We're just going from thing to thing. Oh, also, we didn't even mention this. At the very first shot on the highway, there's like some maid boomer that's like driving a truck, I think, or walking down the highway all like half fucked up. I forget what she was doing out there. And then like halfway through the episode, we find out like she's dead or something, like the AD police killed her or something. All of this happens off screen. We don't see any of that. We never found out who she was or why that was happening. So why did they show us
I
at
think that
all?
I think that might have been related to the pills, but that also might just be my brain trying to connect this shit together.
It was bad. Steve, I got a question for you. Maybe you might have an answer. Remember characters? Remember Pris and Nene and Celia Stingray and like Leon and Daly and their gay banter and Black Cop? Uh, remember him? Remember American military men with names like McDougal and Cartwright and shit like that? We didn't have any characters here.
It is the end of episode 1, and I only know Buzz's name.
I mean, is he genuinely one of the most boring anime protagonists you've ever seen? Because honestly, like this is up there. I cannot believe they centered a show around this guy.
Other than sort of a cop, what does he do?
Nothing. He mopes.
He doesn't talk to his wife. He barely talks to his partners.
That I want to talk about too. I fucking forgot. So remember, like his wife or whatever. Oh, he wasn't really talking to her when he left. When he came back home, his quote unquote wife, I guess, was like a boomer, and she was like headless and slumped on the kitchen floor or something, and like sparking while he's on the patio, badly playing the saxophone. Like, so did he do that to her? Did he come home and she was already like that and he didn't care? Did he kill her? Did he not see it at all? What was that? We don't know because the credits rolled afterwards. I have no idea. And it's never shown again in the other 2 episodes. So I don't know.
The answer to that might have been an interesting character study, but we'll never get it. Because she's in the same spot she was at the beginning of the episode. Sorry.
No, it's just, I'm as baffled as you are. I really thought I was missing stuff. I'm glad you were just as confused as me for the most part. You understood more about the helicopter scene than I did, but I didn't get that.
I don't really think they really understood what they were doing with the helicopter scene either.
So, like, okay, episode 2 happens. The first thing we see 1 year later. Okay, I guess that the passage of time didn't make any difference, but I guess it's 1 year later. Could have taken place at any time.
And, speaking of things that could take place at any time, there's a bunch of boomer prostitutes, and they're ending up, kind of dead all over the place.
Boy, where have we heard that story before?
Wasn't there a pretty fucked up episode of AD Police we watched that pretty much started out this way?
That was incredible, too. Just gripping as hell. This isn't.
I mean, we suddenly meet an escort boomer named Eve who has some kind of operator that guides her to the things. She's dreaming and getting sentient thought, and this is the sort of thing I like in my robot AI stories, but we're not going to really delve into that too much. One of the biggest themes of cyberpunk, what's real, who's a real person, AI, and all that shit, that'll never get old with me. But just give it to me. Even like Lock, Stock, and Barrel, oh, she's a real person.
they couldn't be bothered in Parasite Dolls.
I mean, Eve's pretty good at looking guys' toes.
Oh my God. No, that dude was licking her toes. He was down on the floor. Yeah.
That's right.
He was kneeling in front of her and like he was fully naked and she was on the bed and he went to town, baby. Certified freak 7 days a week. Oh my God. He was getting down on them toes. I mean, good for him. I mean, look, it's not my thing, but I'm glad he had a great time.
You know who didn't have a good time, though? The CEO of Genome Corp. Because a boomer just offs him. And I'm wondering, because we see him for like a second in a dark room, and I'm wondering, or I think that was supposed to be him, and I'm wondering if that's the same guy who didn't talk very good in the old series.
Oh, yeah. The one who was like halfway.
Hello, Eve. It is good to see you again. Please do not tell anyone that I like to suck boomer toes.
Wait. So he was the CEO? He was the CEO? That guy?
I thought he was. Or
see, I just thought he died. I thought we heard about one of the boomers killing the Genome CEO and we never saw it. So it was that guy? I guess that would make more sense, but they never established who he was. I thought he was just a random John.
See, I thought we saw him, but it was very dark in that room, and it could have been anyone. That would have been a great callback to see him, even if it was in subs.
By the way, killing the CEO of Genome Corp is like kind of a seismic event in that world, but it was just like, oh, he's dead. Okay, moving right along.
Yeah, remember when they tried to do that in the old series, and they and he's like, "That is a hologram, you dumbasses." You really think I would actually show up here? I am in Space Taco Bell enjoying the Baja Blast.
You think this is the real Quaid? I hope anyone who gets that is laughing their ass off right now. But yeah, so like, oh, what about the part where like I guess like Mickelson is gonna go undercover to like into the hotel to like, I don't know, find out more about Eve, and then she's dressed in this red wig and she doesn't look they didn't establish that she was going to do this. She just looks like a totally different person in the back of Buzz's car, and then after a few lines of dialogue it's like, oh, that's her undercover, but they didn't establish that.
Well, it's not entirely random. I thought because they seemed to be chummy, and I figured she was just an informant that was working. I didn't think it was Mickelson.
Yeah, I didn't know it was her. So it's just like, okay. And by the way, do you like how this actually made me laugh? This is probably the only thing that made me laugh in these episodes is when she tried to get into the hotel and the two guards stopped her like, oh, you can't come in here looking so slutty or whatever they said to her.
What if I'm a police officer?
Yeah. Sorry, ma'am.
Please step on me.
Basically. Okay. You're going to have to explain this to me like I am the dumbest person on earth, because I didn't get a single thing about this little girl in the red dress.
Sit back, Audrey, because it's going to take a second.
Okay, lay it on me.
These dreams keep manifesting for Eve in the form of a little girl in a raincoat that looks kind of like an anime Madeline. And she keeps telling her to do things.
But why?
Meanwhile, Eve is a killer, but she's not the boomer hooker killer, whatever the fancy name they came up with this.
Yeah, hooker boomer killer. That's literally something that was called. They called it that in English. Hooker boomer killer.
She's been killing the Genome people and another number of Johns because she's having this crisis with anime Madeline, but not the hookers. The real murderer, which I gotta say I did not see coming, is this cat that was following Mickelson around that turns into just shapeshifts into this giant boomer bug mech thing.
That was pretty disgusting. I liked it. That was cool. But like, okay, I got that, but I don't understand the red, like, okay, so she has dreams about her, but then like, and she tells her to do stuff, but why is she having these? Who is this? How did this manifest?
Well, we did have that theory before in Bubblegum Crash with Celia Stingray, and how she might be a new line of boomer, and so far and so forth. And the somewhere between the professor guy and other notes lying around indicate that whoever they were using to make this doll in the first boomer in the first place was kind of had these leftover memories behind, and that's what the dreams are. Except that still doesn't really say why Madeline says, "Come play with me," and which entails jumping into your death.
Yeah. Okay, I do remember that part you said, but that still doesn't. You're right. That still doesn't explain why she was telling her to do the things that she did. And then the episode ends. So who cares?
And we never will.
I mean, hey, Steve, I'm going to ask you to remember more stuff right now. Remember Mega Tokyo? Remember like rock music and glowing nights? Remember like establishing shots and like knowing what's going on and who's talking to who?
Are you asking if I remember this being an 80s anime? Because I sure do.
I mean, remember like city streets and vendors and like Celia meeting her informant in a strip club or a Ferris wheel? Remember that?
I mean, it was fun. I had fun.
Why did no I don't care if none of the original staff is around. Why did no personality impart itself onto Parasite Dolls? How did they fuck this up so bad? They had all the material right there. I don't get it.
I can only imagine that they looked at what they had a look at what was there before, and they saw, yes, time constraints. That's what was that's what was so good about this old show. And so they imposed these same constraints on themselves. We're going to make it 3 episodes, and we're gonna just everyone likes shooty bang bang, right? And that's what they did, sort of.
I would have been okay with, and usually I'm not okay with this because I think it's the laziest thing to do because I prefer originality even in a same universe. But I would have preferred if they went the route where they did a whole bunch of callbacks. Oh, here's Leon for some reason, or here's, whatever. I guess we don't know when this takes place. At the same time, like I would have gone for the lowest common denominator type of revival, which is like, remember this thing? I would have preferred that to being, this is so dull. I just wanted something to happen. Well, even if it was trite.
I got some bad news, Andre, because the next thing that happens is in 5 years after this episode.
Okay, I must have completely missed this because I was reading your notes and I was like 5 years later. I did not see that.
Well, that's how this episode opens. 5 years later.
But I just wonder how I missed that. Did I get knocked out for the first like 10 seconds of this episode? I don't know. I did not see that.
Look, I feel like I was knocked out for a good chunk of this episode, but we'll get to that.
So basically, here's what happens. Another dead boomer shows up, killed in a very grisly fashion, kind of reminiscent of like Snatcher almost in a way with the way the severed head. I understand like Bubblegum Crisis and like, Blade Runner sort of influenced Snatcher, and now it seems to have come the other way around, which is weird, but it really did look like that. So that happened, and then the president's on TV talking about boomers' place in society, and then they show footage of a showdown between like God knows who and someone else, like intercut with like footage of a guy like fucking this boomer lady doggy style. And then this other guy in the boardroom is like explaining like his like grand plan to everybody. And he hates boomers. He's that guy. It doesn't matter if you stab it or shoot it. It's just an electrical appliance. That type of person.
He doesn't really care about people either, because halfway while he's fucking and killing that boomer, he just turns around and shoots one of the other bodyguards.
Yeah. See, humans can feel pain. They can overcome it or whatever. Just like nobody else in the room flinches, of course. It's supposed to be a display of power, which I like that type of bad guy shit, typically. Cold bad guy shit, but this was just not earned at all.
We
Especially
just
since
met you 2 minutes ago.
we just met you 2 minutes ago, and like I said, every 30 seconds there's a new scene and there's a new element, and they're just throwing it all at us, and it's just like it's just not earned.
Speaking of things being thrown at us, did you like the that part with the Prime Minister's interview where he's trying to pick up the talk show host?
Yeah.
Why, if you fell for a boomer, why, I couldn't just say no.
Oh, Mr. President. Right? So it is. Yeah.
2003.
So, like, I guess the branch chief is missing now because reasons that are not told to us.
Well, we did see, I thought that was him talking to Mr. Lunatic, but...
Okay, but why is he missing?
Because they're all clearly in cahoots, so at least that's what I'm picking up.
But that doesn't... this fucking show was awful. It's the worst of both worlds, isn't it? It's dull, and it doesn't explain anything to you.
Oh, but if you give it just 2 more minutes, because our friend Captain Buzz goes to the office and he blackmails one of the chief's underlings into going up to him on the roof and talking for nearly 5 minutes about what the chief's been up to with Mr. Lunatic.
It was like a TV anime where they like try to save time during this episode, animation space or whatever. So just have 2 people talking in a location, which is fine. I don't usually rip on stuff like that, but this is a fucking OAV, man.
We had 3 episodes. Show us something.
Also, do you like how he blackmailed him with like a basic bitch floppy disk from like 1993?
Yeah, there's probably nothing even on it.
Yeah, not a cool floppy disk. Remember the technology from before? Everything looks so fucking cool and like designed and fucking awesome. And now it's just like, here's a floppy disk. I can buy like 20 in a box for $2 at Target.
There might have been a ripped copy of Oregon Trail on that floppy disk. Who cares?
Yeah. It was just like, we didn't actually see him gather the data either. Not that you need to see every minutia of everything in like a show like this, but you gotta give us enough to connect it.
Forget giving enough to connect it. We've been given no real reason that Buzz would do any of this shit.
Well, he wouldn't, because he's being framed, I guess, by a guy on the roof.
Oh yeah, well, sort of, because like all of a sudden in their middle, I say all of a sudden, like they weren't talking this whole time. The city, Genome City, I guess they're going to call it now, just fucking starts exploding. And he just runs up, and then the underling runs up to him. This is your fault.
Yeah. Buzz Nikavest. He says his full name because anime.
And he didn't really do it, though. He just wrote a college thesis where they stole his ideas somehow. And I got a level with you. I don't know if it was the Fire Stick or my internet failure that we have in this neighborhood, but something was just keeping me from watching the episode around this point.
What, it just like kept like buffering or something, or
it kept buffering and getting error messages or whatever. And I think that if I didn't know any better, I'd say it was just me like, no, we can't do more Parasite Dolls. I know there's only like 10 more minutes, but no, no more.
I like that this episode was 35 minutes. Probably because they talked on the roof so fucking long. But like, by the way, yeah, like you mentioned Genome City. I guess we're in Genome City. Not they expected to still be Mega Tokyo, but like we didn't know the name of the city till like the show's almost over. So, I mean, whatever. Again, not that you need to know every little detail of anything, but the show didn't give us fucking jack shit, man.
You know what it did give us?
What?
King Pork Chop time.
Yes. We get to another good radio bit. This guy wakes up in bed, I guess whoever he's blackmailing. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to the King Pork Chop time. And then we don't hear any of the other broadcasts. I wanted to know what King Pork Chop time was.
I wanted so badly to listen to King Pork Chop time.
That was the most interesting thing ever said in this show.
It was stupid. It was abrupt. It was the most interesting thing this series did.
By the way, This broadcast was in English. Again, we watched this in Japanese with English subtitles. He was saying this part in English. So
He was.
maybe whoever, the Japanese developers there just thought like, oh, we can just say whatever stupid shit we want. Like, if you know English, then haha, it's a good joke for you, King Porkchop time, whatever that means. But yeah, I like that radio broadcast was in English, so that was good. By the way, yeah, and he gets up and turns on that like basic bitch widescreen TV that I had in like 2006. And it's like I just kept thinking again. I keep going back to Bubblegum Crisis. Remember Pris's trailer with like the TV that had all the doodads on it? It looked like it had 3 VCRs and like a big 2 Laserdisc inserts or something. It's just like this very ornately detailed future product instead of just like, oh, here's the TV.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody cared, man. Whoever's making this, they just didn't give a shit. No passion, no heart.
Or maybe they were just really being thoughtful, like, hey, are any of these players going to really be around by the time Parasite Dolls gets around? Maybe they were really thinking ahead.
They weren't. They didn't know.
I know.
I know you were joking, but I'm so disgusted with this show, I don't even want to entertain that. Anyway, let me wrap this the fuck up. So basically, there's like a big exposition dump of Buzz, like, his wife was killed by a boomer 7 years ago, so he transferred to the Boomer Crimes Division. Then he was like got upgraded to Branch, I guess, from AD Police, and then he killed a little girl accidentally, who he thought she was a boomer, I guess. So like now that's why he doesn't use a gun. But they dump all this on us in like 45 seconds at the end of the show. Instead of trying to make him an interesting character and doling out stuff about his past and why he is the way he is, they tell us this all at the end just so he can pick up the gun and finish off the bad guy. Ooh, he finally uses a gun.
Oh, he doesn't even really, he didn't even do the work. Mickelson shows up in the last possible second, even though we thought she was dead with the rest of his branch.
We didn't even talk about that. Okay, all the explosions in Genom City or whatever killed the other branch members, so they're dead unceremoniously. And then Mickelson was taking a ride with the boomer Kimball, I think his name is. And then so out of nowhere, some helicopter starts attacking him on the highway for no reason. We have no idea why that happened. And then so it shoots a couple missiles at him, and then like they blow up and we presume they're dead, but I guess Mickelson shows up at the last second here to save Buzz's ass. So, but I guess Kimball didn't make it because she was like, he protected me or something like that. But we don't even see that.
Well, we saw his face get peeled off, but we didn't see him die.
But we didn't see him protect her or put his body over anything. We're just told about it. We just saw the explosion, and then like we're just supposed to buy that he didn't make it and she did and whatever. And I guess
she managed to get there without a helicopter or a car, wherever the heck they were, because
yeah, she knew where they were somehow. She didn't do it like a little. Again, I'm sorry to keep doing this. Remember in Bubblegum Crisis where like if they're trying to track down a member in trouble, they do a little radar stuff or have a cool moment with technology to be like, oh, she's right here. Oh, she might be here, right? They didn't do any of that.
Remember in Bubblegum Crisis where if they were really having a hard time finding someone, Nene would show up after hours and go flipping around through their little computer and try and put pieces together that way? Remember when anything happened anywhere?
Yeah. It just, man, like Kimball sucks as a character too. They paint him as like the stodgy, like polite boomer, like I am good for society. I am robot, beep, boop, beep, instead of like actually having a personality like boomers should. Like, I feel like that doorman from Bubblegum Crash who they asked to like go have drinks with them is like, had more personality than this guy.
Justice for Beauregard.
Oh yeah, he died. He died very shortly after. R.I.P.
Yeah, those people went for drinks, and then the angry boomer showed up, and he died real quick.
Steve, I don't want to talk about this much more because it was so fucking boring. Do you got anything else to hear from me? Because I've just about had it.
Look. We've grazed on this earlier, but do you think this could have been any better with any of the old staff around?
I mean, yeah, because at least they would have had the cool technology again. At least they would have had like the music in this wasn't actually that bad. It was actually fine. It was just that like again, you don't have to do everything like the old show, especially if you don't really have the budget to. But like they would have picked their spots to have like some really cool stuff. Like even Bubblegum Crash with like the cut budget had like fake MC Hammer. Remember that outside of the out of the thing? Like, yeah, you had your moments, right? So this is Parasite Dolls is particularly frustrating because the template existed. They didn't have to do a show like they did before, like I said, but they had the world, they have the ideas, they could have done something, they chose not to. Making a show this boring is a choice.
Speaking of choices, we also know that the overlap in staff is with 2040 and the second AD Police series and not the originals. Are we fucking scared of watching those now? Because I'd be lying if I said no.
To be honest, yes and no, because like I was already scared of watching those other series before seeing Parasite Dolls because they're TV shows. Like, Bubblegum Crisis and AD Police or OAVs, they have bigger budgets, they have bigger ideas. You can show whatever you want, right? On TV, it's going to be sanitized, right? As because like this is before the mid 2000s where we had like late night anime slots where you could really just show whatever you want. I can't believe shows like Speed Grapher were on TV. You know what I mean? That's just wild. That was like unthinkable before, right? So you didn't have that yet. That adult anime slot. So it's only going to be so much. And seeing how they sort of stretch and expand the Bubblegum Crisis story to 26 episodes, I'm kind of already concerned of how that might work out unless they just kind of do their own thing, which would be good too. So yes and no. This does give me pause because Parasite Dolls was so dull, but I was already a bit worried.
So, look, can we think of anything nice to say? Because we were kind of mean.
I mean, the animation's cool. The animation is actually fairly old school for 2002, isn't it? There's no CG. It's not 16 by 9 because I've watched stuff from 2002 and I'm sure you have too that already has those things in place, especially TV anime because Japanese they adopted those standards a long time ago, especially the widescreen. This is still 4:3. There doesn't seem to be any CG to speak of, and if it is, it's very minimal. Because even Bubblegum Crash from 91, even they had that like CG intro, right? And that was like very early on. It was very simple, but they did have it. But no, I did like that approach to it, the animation. It looked good. I also, I don't know, like I said, I really enjoyed those boomer corpses. They kind of look straight out of Snatcher. The music that wasn't the new metal stuff was good. It's not a complete 0% grade here, but it definitely is not something I would ever recommend, even to Bubblegum Crisis fans, where we really enjoyed what we watched before. But here's what you first. Did you like anything, actually, before we move on?
As I mentioned earlier, I enjoyed the opening. I thought we were in for something good when we had the radio lady escorting Buzz around for exposition, but then we were snapped out of it. I mean, other than that, there was that funny sign in episode 3 that literally said "normal police."
for anyone who hasn't listened to the other stuff, there's 80 police, as we've said, who takes down boomers, but your basic police officers who don't do the special stuff. They are literally just called normal police. That is their name. In English in this Japanese show, that is her name, and it just says this on a building. I'm sure they didn't understand how goofy that looks to an English speaker, but yeah, the building that said normal police, just excellent stuff. I guess the only thing I have left to say is that in general, I'm not someone who needs everything to like pay off and tie up with a nice pretty bow. I'm okay, especially in anime, I'm okay with letting scenes just be scenes, like visuals just be visuals. And, everyone might call it style over substance. That's actually okay with me. Sometimes if you do it really well, I'm fine. Just give me a nice thrill ride. It doesn't have to be that deep. It can be cotton candy. Just give me that thing. But Parasite Dolls has all the dull proceduralism, that's probably not a word, but with none of the cool locations that make that stuff worth it, or interesting characters, cool conversations about the future or Boomer. Actually, we tried to do that once. I think Myers and Mickelson started talking like for 2 seconds about like, well, a boomer's just this. Well, no, it's a person because blah, blah, blah. You know, the same old thing we always talk about in Cyberpunk. But then they just went back to looking at the computer. It's just like, okay, I guess that's all we get of that. There's just no character or dialogue moments to really make up for anything in this show. So it falls flat on all facets. It's kind of how I feel about it. It's a big old dud.
I feel like someone brought this tape into Anime Club, and it's just the missing AD police episodes. And it's been chopped up into pieces, and it's missing all the good parts. I don't know why you'd actually want to sit down and watch this. With Bubblegum Crash, an attempt was made. I don't know what happened here.
Yeah. Not good. Okay, that's all we want to say about this boring show. Sorry, but we had to get it out of our system. Thanks for listening to our bloodletting for, I'm going to guess, 45 minutes.
Join us next time for something good, we hope.
Yeah. Maybe. Or at least if it's not good, it could be so good, so bad it's good. See you next time, guys. Fine Time Podcast on Twitter. You know that already. Follow us. Look in the description of this episode to also find links to our socials. See you next time. Bye.